Welcome to the Mile 20 podcast where epic shit happens. My name is Lorri and I'm here with my bestie, Laura.
Laura, hello.
Hello.
We're Zooming
And
today.
we are zooming because we have a guest coming on today, Genie Sperling, who is the Atlantic City Marathon race director. So we will be talking with her in a few minutes. And sometimes when we do these things, it's just easier to do it over Zoom.
It is. It is.
But
And it's cool to be interviewing her because we're going to be running the Atlantic City Marathon in 2 weeks. So maybe we're going to get a little bit of an inside track on that.
yeah, get to peek inside the mind of a race director. I can't even imagine the amount of stress involved in the next 2 weeks for her building up to the event on October 19th.
Yeah, like no pressure. You only have like a couple thousand people who are counting on you.
I know, right? But before we even get started on all of that, Laura, what is your mile 20 beverage of the week?
I got water again.
Moi aussi, me also.
I know, because while I've been really watching what I've been eating and drinking during the week, I kind of splurged a little bit on Saturday and Sunday. And I wasn't drinking water like I normally do. And now I really feel like I have to drink water because I got on my scale and I was like, damn it. I'm like 2 steps forward and 2 steps back. But I
Yeah,
had fun, damn it. Fun,
damn
fun,
right.
fun.
So should we just slide right into our Epic Week update? Because it's pretty much the same thing, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We were kind of like joined at the hip this weekend.
Yes, we were. Although I'm trying to remember, what did you do Friday night?
Oh, Friday night I went on date night with Jim.
That's right.
Yeah, we went to and I think I've mentioned the restaurant in Downingtown in the past. It's called the Noble Goat, and
Yes.
I had an absolutely delicious dinner. I had a branzino over a ratatouille,
Ooh, that
and it
sounds
was
yummy.
yum. It was yummy, and we got to sit outside, which I thoroughly enjoyed because it's kind of nice still being able to sit outside in the September October time period in the Philadelphia area.
While it lasts.
Yes, while it lasts. So Saturday morning, we woke up bright and early, and we ended up doing a long run. You ran a little bit further than I did on Saturday, so I got a 12 miler in. I think where did you get in? A 16 miler?
16 miler.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think we were both also pushing pace Saturday morning. So I was a little extra tired Saturday afternoon
Yeah, I like we pushed pace. Where in normal
for
spots where
us.
we refuel we were like, what? What's going on with us? I felt like I had like my redemption song playing in my head, like I needed a good freaking run. And then, unfortunately Maggie's phone, her alarm didn't go off due to an update on her phone, and then Maddie just wasn't feeling it like right away, getting up. So it's just you and I for the first couple of miles for 6 miles, which was nice, just kind of like, reconnecting and still
Yeah.
catching up and whatnot. But and then this that afternoon, because the Phillies were playing in the
Oh
playoffs,
God.
right?
Yeah, there was a lot that went on Saturday. I
Well,
mean, yeah,
Saturday we had to go food. We both went food shopping, right?
yeah, for the
Because well, we
tailgate
went,
Sunday.
yeah, because for the tailgate on Sunday for the Eagles. So we both had to run to the store. I had to because my sister's birthday was yesterday, so I got a really beautiful cake. I had to pick up the cake. Oh, and then I got in after we ran the 12 miles. I did about 4 or 5 hours of gardening outside.
Yeah,
So that
you're
was
crazy.
Yep. So I took a shower, picked up the cake, went to the grocery store, came back, got all my costume stuff for the movie, but then I was donned in Phillies
Whoa,
gear,
but what movie?
Rocky Horror Picture Show,
Hell yeah.
right? And it was one of
Yes.
those things. It was at the Colonial Theater in Phoenixville where you can actually, like, they have actually people dressed up as the characters. They're showing the movie, but people are enacting the movie at the same time. And it was freaking hysterical. It was a bucket list item for me. And
Yeah.
I absolutely had a blast. We all dressed up. So I think Maggie actually shared a couple of pictures already on our social media. But that was just so much fun.
Oh
I
yeah.
and we did, and they had at 9 o'clock at night, they had a flash mob in the streets of like on Bridge Street in Phoenixville. And we participated in that, although we were not in costume yet. We were
We were
still
in
like
our
in
Phillies
our
garb.
Phillies gear.
Yeah.
But we participated in the flash mob and did the time warp on Bridge Street or Bridge
Yeah.
Avenue. I don't know which it's Bridge Street
I
or
think it's
Avenue.
Bridge Street.
Bridge Street.
Hmm.
So yeah, so that was a lot of fun going in and doing that. And then unfortunately the Phillies lost on
Well,
Saturday as well.
that and Penn State. So like the
And
game,
Penn
like
State, yeah.
yeah. So Penn State played at one, and then that led into the
And they
Phillies.
lost to UCLA. It's
Oh my
bad.
God, it's so bad,
Yeah.
so
And
bad.
then we lost game one. And then I didn't get home. So like Phoenixville is maybe like a 35-minute drive for me. So I didn't get home until 1 o'clock and probably didn't get really to a sleep maybe until like maybe 1:30. And then what
Yeah,
time did we wake up on Sunday?
5 a.m.
5 a.m., baby.
Yeah, had to start cooking first thing for the Eagles tailgate.
Yeah. Yeah. How did Sunday go then? What did we do?
Well, we got up. You cooked a lot of delectable treats with prosciutto and fig stuff and little bit of this and some burgers. Her tailgate is like she's like Martha Stewart tailgate over
You
there.
gotta create it. You gotta create it. Our tailgate looks solid though together. Like
Yeah.
you can do bouge. I've
Well,
seen
you
you do
bring it
bouge.
up. You bring it up. You really class it up. I'm like more basic, but I try.
That's
So
okay. That's okay.
so we did a theme with Denver this time. You did burgers. I leaned more into the breakfast because we were shooting to be there right when the lots opened at like 8:30 a.m. because we had a 1 o'clock game. So I did green chili breakfast
They
burritos
were delicious.
and I did muffins and donuts and stuff like that. Made some
And
spiked
and
apple
and
cider.
your love because you went and did the gluten-free and egg-free options for me and Maddie. So greatly
Yes.
appreciated that. Yeah,
And
Maddie showed up for the tailgate.
the vegetarian option
Yes,
for
and the
Mari.
vegetarian too, right? For Mari. Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
it's it's definitely like when we have our whole crew together, it's very challenging in terms of of people's food boundaries.
Yes.
You got to
Yes.
make sure you have options for everyone. Or when you lay stuff on the table, you're like, Maddie, you can't eat that. Mari, that's actually meat. Like that's not fake
Yeah.
meat, right? So yeah, it definitely is a challenge, across the board. And then the Eagles lost. So
Yeah.
it was a rough weekend. It
It
was a
was
rough
a rough
weekend.
weekend. However, my house is a house divided. So my husband is a lifelong Broncos fan, and he's raised my son DJ. I lost him to the Broncos as well. And then whether he's a fan or a suck up, I'm not sure, but Maggie's boyfriend
Oh,
Connor
he's such a suck up.
was also wearing a Terrell Davis Broncos jersey. And then, of course, DJ's
Connor
girlfriend
was a
Mari.
faker. He was a
Yeah.
faker on Sunday. He comes out of the vehicle in his in not his, but in a Broncos
No, that's
jersey.
his. That's his Broncos jersey.
Oh, it's his Broncos jersey.
It is his
He probably
Broncos
got it to suck
jersey.
up to Dave. I'm
Yes.
saying that out loud, Connor. And Maggie, you can't go and cut this out.
Ha ha ha. But also, like, and then so I drove to the game with Dave, DJ, and his girlfriend Mari, who are all dressed as Broncos. I'm the only Eagles person in the car. I just sat there quietly because I'm like, I had a weird feeling we were going to lose that game. It was just weird. I just knew it. So I'm like, I'm not even going to talk shit. I'm not doing anything. I'm just going to sit here and be quiet.
Our team needs to figure some crap out. I mean, now, granted, it's the first loss in like umpteenth number of games, right?
Yes, but our offensive line looks like Swiss cheese.
Like Swiss cheese, and our offensive coordinator, he just needs to check himself at the door. Like the play calling was heinous, absolutely heinous.
Yeah,
I
he wore
this
our defense out by not letting them take a break off the
That's
field.
exactly it. And so this morning I had a an eye doctor appointment, and so I got in the car, and it's always fun to like turn on local Philly sports radio,
Oh
WIP.
yeah.
Man, there are some really angry fans out there between the Eagles losing and the Phillies lost again last night and the way that they lost. And then
Yeah.
just talking about who the Phillies are going to start as the pitcher the next game. Oh my gosh. It just made me feel so grounded. I'm like it makes me sad that we lost, but it's like, yeah, we've been kind of spoiled. It's like they needed to lose a game, just kind of get, kind of slap themselves upside the head and get a little bit of grounded. And hey,
Yeah.
we can't keep winning the way that we've been calling plays and stuff. So,
No.
but man, I was exhausted Sunday night, but then but then yesterday morning, I thought, oh, because you were like, hey, are we gonna run on Monday morning? And I was like, oh, I thought I was gonna sleep in, but I forgot that I was doing a spirit mission and putting a big happy birthday sign on my sister's front lawn.
Oh no,
Um,
you just didn't put any this was amazing. You have to describe exactly what you put on her yard.
so let me put it in perspective that when my sister was younger, she absolutely loved watching the Golden Girls. And so I found a bunch of signs. One is in the middle and it says a dozen roses for you. And then there are 12 individual signs you stick into the grass that have pictures of Betty White as Rose. That was her character in a red dress. And it's 12 roses. 12
Yes.
roses. So, but when my sister said that, she opened up her door and she saw like a person's silhouette because she could tell that it was a person. She's like, I'll kill her if she put pictures of me on the front lawn. But she loved it. She took a picture of it. She said it made her smile. My nephew loved it. But yeah, I haven't gotten a lot of sleep the past couple of days, and now today I put contacts in for the first time with my eye doctor. So this has been an interesting experience all day long. So I don't know if it's like because I'm like the lack of sleep, or it's like starting to get like a little like my eyes are like, yeah, we're done. We're done with the contacts today.
Yeah, it's probably a combination of all those things.
It is. It is. So we both had a really really fun weekend, and so I'm really looking forward to interviewing Jeannie here.
Well, welcome. We are here with Genie Sperling, the Atlantic City Race Director.
Yay!
And yay, we're so excited because we're going to be running the Atlantic City Marathon on October the 19th. Welcome to the Mile 20 podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
We love having you. We can't wait to go and get like a little insider peek about the marathon.
That sounds great.
Absolutely. So, do you are you a marathon runner? Is that
So
kind of how you
I
got into
am,
this?
it is not how I got into it. And I will say that I have completed several half marathons and a variety of other distances. I have not run a marathon. Um, I got into the event organizing and endurance sports when I started working at the JCC in Margate. I've been there for, I want to say, going on 12 or 13 years.
Oh wow.
And our community center had recently taken over the ownership and organization of the Atlantic City Marathon. It was a really historic event for our community. It had been going on for many, many years, organized by the Boardwalk Runners, which were essentially a couple, two people who had organized the race for many years and had gotten older and life things were happening. And so in 2009, it was announced that the event was no longer going to take place.
Oh, wow.
And the community center, the JCC here in Margate, said, we actually had several board members that were avid runners, marathoners, had run the Atlantic City Marathon as well as many other marathons in their life, and they just thought that would be horrible for this event not to take place here anymore.
Mm.
Um, and I don't know if you knew this interesting statistic, but the Atlantic City Marathon is actually the third oldest continuing marathon in the United States.
I did not know
So
that.
I did not know
Bo-
that.
yeah, Boston is number one, Yonkers in New York is number two, and Atlantic City is number three. There are many other Philadelphia. A lot of these races have been going on for many, many years, but not continuing. So there were large gaps in time where the events didn't take place. So it was pretty important to them. They knew the history. I came on board the following year in 2010. I was actually hired. My education background is very diverse. I have a degree in like the marketing kind of side of things. I went back to school for education. I ended up at the JCC facilitating some grant funded programs for active adults and was working in the office. And who was overseeing the race? Our CEO, who at that time was the I guess she was the COO at that point, had just got into running and really kind of took some ownership of the event as well. And when the previous person was leaving, her and I decided that it was something that we were going to learn about and really immerse ourselves in it. I had, for many years, been very much into like fitness and personal, I guess you would say like just self-care kind of. That's like a,
Okay.
right? That's what we call it now. I guess then there wasn't really necessarily a word, but I wasn't specifically a runner. I was never a fast person, even playing sports as a kid. So running was something that was challenging to me.
Yeah.
And I really
Relate to that.
wasn't that familiar with the endurance community. So we kind of just said we're going to go like all in. And I started traveling to other races, big and small, all over kind of like the East Coast and conferences and tried to figure it out.
So what were some of the other races, Jeannie, that you went and visited that were, I would say like, were memorable to you or
Yeah.
impactful where you're like, well, I'm gonna take this away from this race and bring it back into AC.
Yeah. So I think my first, so it's actually kind of fun. My first half marathon was in Miami. So that's like really big, big city, logistical. You're up at
That's
4 o'clock in the morning, getting
was that
on
the
the
rock and roll
train
also?
system.
Was that
It
the
was
rock
not
and
rock
roll?
and roll. It was
Okay.
Miami. Yeah, it was. I think at that point it was called the ING Miami Marathon. I think
Okay.
that was 2011.
Wow.
Um, I did the Philadelphia Half Marathon, Virginia Beach. Virginia Beach was one that was, and that's the Yingling Shamrock weekend in March. I would say that that one was very impactful to me as an event organizer in learning and planning because Atlantic City is not Miami. It's not Philadelphia, right? Our
Mhm.
infrastructure is a little bit smaller. Our community is a little bit smaller, and so Virginia Beach, even though is still a larger metropolitan area than where we are, I feel like it was a little bit more uh, similar. There were things that I could take away. I've done some of Disney's events, and then I've done lots of 5Ks all over. Winery ones and everything kind of in between. And I joke sometimes that I'm afraid someone's going to like report me as like a potential threat because I'm taking pictures of like signage and like really odd things that like most people are not taking pictures of when they're at an event. But I really try very hard to view the event as a participant and as a you know, as a runner, as a person who's really there and kind of like immerse myself in it. And my most recent was Grandma's Marathon weekend
Oh,
in
love that
June.
one.
Love
I
Love
that.
it.
loved it. I
Oh,
absolutely loved it. The community there is unbelievable. And the weather was,
Agreed.
although they said it was warmer than typical for them, but I absolutely loved every aspect of that.
Oh, I love that. And I love the fact that in order to do your research for and it sounds like you just continue to go and snag up like some good ideas from
Yeah.
races, like as a runner, like when you're running a really really well run race,
Yes.
where you don't run out of water. The volunteers are spot on. The directions, even packet pickup. Like we've been to some races where packet pickup it has been like just like, oh, is this how the rest of the race is gonna be? And not
Right,
in a
right,
good
right.
way. So I as a runner appreciate you being a runner and taking it from that perspective, but then also from the lens of being a race director and how can you create the best experience you possibly can with, like you were saying, the infrastructure that that
Yes.
I mean, you can't change your infrastructure, right, as a race director. So what with Atlantic City, I mean, for those of our listeners who have never been to Atlantic City, it's on the Atlantic Ocean, right? So you
Correct.
have like, a bunch of hotels and casinos that
Yes.
line, and as well as a boardwalk, which we loved running on, by the way.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
and that's and so I mean, then you have like the rest of the city, like on the western side of like all of like the big hotels. So just because of like the logistics there and so forth, like what are some of the challenges that you have because of maybe the way that the city is laid out, or it's a
Right.
smaller town?
So the boardwalk presents a lot of challenges. One, because it is considered like a pedestrian thoroughfare. It's not really feasible to completely shut it down to pedestrian traffic. So that I would say is one of the main challenges.
Mm.
There's also ongoing, construction and repair. It's a wood plank boardwalk sitting on the ocean and getting all of that wear and tear. We're actually today I spent and about an hour and a half doing a nice kind of 5 mile out and back walk, starting from further down in Ventnor, which is I would, in the mile like 10 to 12 range. And then I walked up to the start and finish area because there's construction even going on now. And they're wonderful the way that they work with us. They really value our event taking place in the city. There are several staff members within the city offices that really take, like a sense of ownership in helping us accomplish the planning that goes into it. But at the same time, they're a functioning city. So they're like, yeah, we have to replace this section, or we had an issue, or, something happened here. So there are areas, and hopefully by the time the weekend rolls around, you guys won't notice any of them, but there may be areas where there's cones and things like that. Typically, there's at least one section. We run through 4 municipalities. So Atlantic City, Ventnor, Margate, and Longport. And inevitably, every year, there's a road that's being repaved, or they're doing new gas lines or something, So being engaged with our communities in a way that they feel comfortable talking to us about things, we feel comfortable asking the questions, I think is really important. From the city standpoint, in terms of challenges, we've really worked through, and even though we haven't done major changes to the course, even since so the last time you ran was 2023.
2023,
Yeah.
correct?
Hmm.
I'm trying to remember when we modified. There are two small areas in Atlantic City where we made the slightest little change at the recommendation of um, some of the actually police officers that are involved, sergeants and captains who are really involved with the event. And they said, could we do this? And it would alleviate a lot of the stress on this particular neighborhood. These people are essentially stuck there for 2 hours. They can't get out because of the way your course is designed. And if we just turn down this street, it's in the section near like Gardner's Basin, around I guess it would be like mile 5, that we now make a left and we go around. It's actually also, I feel, an enhancement to the runners. It's kind of pretty. You get to see all of the like fishing and the commercial ships that are back in there.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
I'll take that.
So I don't
Yeah.
remember if we did that for 2020. I think we did actually. I believe we recertified the course, and whenever you're making these changes, you have to involve, the course is certified, and it's very important for us to make sure that all of these things are done kind of, to the highest standards. And then the
And
same
we
thing in front of
appreciate that
Harris.
attention to detail.
Yes.
Very much so. We actually ran one marathon that wound up being a tad short. So that is the
Yes.
attention to detail is so important.
Yeah, it is important. And I know sometimes, every person's GPS might be a little, tiny bit off, but we are as close as you could possibly get to being exact. The other very small change was made in front of Harrah's. And again, it was working with our community, working with the security team there. Um, how was our event impacting them? Their people staying there were not able to get out of the parking garage.
Mm.
And we literally just changed the side of the street that we're running on. When we first thought about the course, we thought that that would be more of an impact on them, but they actually, after meeting with them, it was their recommendation, and it's just amazing how much more smooth everything has gone.
Oh, that's
Um,
good.
so those are the challenges, but the fact that we have those, I think relationships help. And we're also very receptive to like constructive criticism. Like if it's not working, then let's not pretend that it is. Let's try to come up with a way of fixing it.
I love that.
Yeah, I think it's so important that you do have that kind of very close working relationship because it is for one day, there's so many roads that you close down, and we appreciate a full 26.2 mile
Yeah.
course versus like a double loop,
Loops.
so
Yeah.
that you're seeing something different. And I know that relationship is just so incredibly important to make sure that the community is supporting. Does the community benefit or JCC, does the JCC benefit from some of the registration fees and everything?
So the JCC is a nonprofit organization, and we own and operate the event. So any funds that are raised through the event do go back into the programs and services that we
Oh,
offer
that's
the
great.
community.
That's wonderful.
That is
Always good,
fantastic.
always good to be able to make an impact.
Yes. Yeah. And we've also partnered, we've learned over the years that part of volunteer recruitment um, comes with working with other organizations, nonprofit organizations, and school-based teams and groups who are also looking at fundraising. So we've incorporated that over the last couple of years, and I think it's been really helpful with getting um, groups of volunteers, particularly for the water stations, that we make like a small contribution to their team or their club for volunteering.
Oh, that's
We'd love
wonderful.
I
to
like
get
that.
more involved
Yeah.
with other fundraising entities. But as you know from running marathons, typically when a runner runs for a charity, it's often because that's the only way to participate in the event.
Mhm.
Not, there are certainly people that do it just because that cause is really important to them, but we're not at a point where we're selling out in minutes or things like that would help really drive enough. So we have worked one-off with some other charities, and we really look forward to doing that more in the future. But it's been kind of one or two here and there.
Yeah, I was wondering with because there used to be the Jersey Marathon that
Mhm.
was held a little further south in New Jersey, and that ended up kind of collapsing a couple of years ago. Have you seen a little bit of an uptick with especially
Yes.
people like us, who are looking for, a specific race in a state or just even, people locally who want to run a marathon but don't want to go and travel. Have you seen, any kind of uptick in that the past couple of years in terms of participation?
Yes, we did see a real uptick coming back after 2020, and having in-person events. We definitely saw an uptick. I do feel that there are many people like yourself who are looking to check off the state. So having fewer options certainly is nice for us, even though we were upset to see New Jersey
Yeah.
Marathon not continue. Um, But yeah, I think what we've seen more than anything, as of right now, most of our distances are actually sold out for the first time. Now that is
Nice.
based on a capacity that we set. So in the future, next year we can look at setting that capacity a bit higher. There are, again, infrastructure limitations because part of the race is on the boardwalk and is
Mhm.
an out and back course. So we want to make sure that there's enough space for everyone to enjoy their experience. But we could probably increase those numbers, by a couple hundred people in each event. So what we're seeing more this year is people registering further in advance, which is
Mm.
a wonderful thing. We'd love to know how many people are coming and not have to wait till like the night before. But that in itself seems to have changed that idea of that like last minute planning and registration. The last 2 years in particular, people seem to be registering further in advance.
Oh, that is fabulous. I
That
absolutely love that. Yeah. We're usually very, very planful, aren't we, Lori, when it comes to
yes.
well, planful, but then sometimes spontaneous. So Jeannie, the way that we are running the race here in 2 weeks is that my daughter, who's she's also a fellow marathoner, she needed another race because she wants to be
Okay.
part of the Marathon Maniac Club. So you have to run
Okay.
three races, three marathons in 90 days, as like I think it's one of the minimum qualifiers.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so she was looking, and she was like, I got the AC, it's close by, and we're just, what's an hour and a half drive for us from the Philadelphia area.
Right.
So she signed up, and then she sent the registration picture of it, in our group chat, and Lori and I were like, oh shit, like it's like, and like so I got to
That's
the point where
great.
I'm like, moms don't let their daughters run marathons by themselves. So then I
No.
signed up, and then Lori was like,
Gotcha.
well, friends don't let friends
Right.
whose daughters are running run alone. So it's like this
The
ripple
whole
effect. But
party.
we essentially have like what, five more marathons between now and the beginning of December like planned right now. So
Yeah.
Wow.
So we are not fast runners. We do not run for time. We run for experience, and we
Gotcha.
run for, it's just fun.
it's
So
just the journey and
it's the
experiencing a
journey.
place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we are back of the pack runners. So we are always looking at a race from the back of the pack perspective, which is
Yes.
sometimes not a focus and very much overlooked. Which
Yes. Yep. I could see.
unfortunately, I did not think. I think that Atlantic City felt like a really great race for back of the Packers, but because it was raining, we didn't linger. Like we kind of
No,
finished,
Oh, right,
got
right,
our
it was
right.
medals,
pouring when
and
we
we were
finished.
out of there. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. We definitely value all of our participants, and it's something that we have learned also that we need to be really mindful with um, when we're training our volunteers, which is really challenging. And I think it's something that a lot of people don't realize. Um, we don't have a lot of time with them leading up to it. We have some great volunteers that come back year after year and they're wonderful and they know what they're doing. But every year, at least 3 or 4 water stations are people who have never done it before.
Ah,
And so, even if you explain things until they're in it in that moment, and especially when you have a half marathon distance going out with a marathon, which we do, our half marathoners are on the same course for the first 12 miles. We really try to emphasize with them, you're going to think that this big rush of people just came past you, but trust us, that's not the whole event. Like it seems like a lot, but there's going to be multiple of those kind of bursts of people coming past you, and you really kind of have to stay on your toes. And the difference between the water station at mile 1 and a water station that's out and back and it's at mile 14 and mile 22
Yeah.
is very different for those volunteers. So it is challenging. We've tried to enhance like our directions and talking with them more, but that is one of the biggest challenges, making sure that the volunteers kind of understand the flow for the day.
yeah, no, that puts it in really great perspective. I mean, we are always thanking the volunteers, whether it's, kids from a sports team,
Yeah.
cheerleaders, churches, just local neighbors coming out or fellow runners. We so appreciate everybody, every volunteer. When we run by the police officers, we thank the
Yeah.
police officers. I like Lorri and I, because of just, how many races we've run, and those are the people that, just like you, they keep these races alive for us.
Yeah.
And we want people to just know that we really appreciate them being out there. So, and we hear other runners do it too. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a thing.
Yeah, it's funny you say that too, because some of the volunteers will comment on that they were surprised that runners acknowledge them, or, I think they just thought people were going to run by, and I don't, maybe that interaction wouldn't be there. So they comment on that. And so do some of the bands and DJs that we get. Sometimes when I'm explaining it to a band for the first time, or a DJ, and they're picturing, oh, I'm going to have people gathering in front of me listening to me play music, and we're like, nope, they're just going to keep running by. And they're like, well, what's the point of that then? You know what? Once they do it once, unless they have like some really significant commitment, 90% of them want to come back.
I love that.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
fantastic.
So Jeannie, having mentioned that Lorri and I have a lot of races, right, planned between now and the beginning of December. This is a busy time of the year for marathoning, especially, here in the Northeast. I mean, like, you go online, and I mean, there's multiple marathons happening every
Yep.
single weekend.
Oh, I think, yeah, like I feel like there's like Mount Desert Island, Baltimore, maybe this weekend,
Yep.
like, or that same weekend. There's just a
Yeah,
lot that
Baltimore
goes
is
on.
the day before.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, do people
when
do
you,
double?
They do.
Oh,
yeah.
that's crazy. That's crazy.
Oh, oh,
I know
not that
we've done
crazy,
it.
Lorri.
We've done it,
We've
but
done a
I did.
double.
Yep.
I know, but I wasn't thinking about those two being together.
It's
But
like,
yeah,
hmm.
no, no.
But Jeannie, when you think about, like, you know, your race kind of also competes with all these other races out there, right? Because some people, they don't care, like, they're not trying to knock off, like, each of
Right.
the 50 states, right? They want to run a marathon. So what makes the Atlantic City Marathon unique, or like a really great destination race for people that might not have ever been to the area?
I think there are a few really wonderful things about our location from a destination perspective. As you mentioned, you have um, many, many miles of ocean views, which is obviously beautiful, but it's also, there's other things to look at, right? So you have the boardwalk, where you have hotels, you go through some different neighborhoods. There's some diversity in what you're looking at throughout the course. So I think it's enjoyable from that kind of scenic perspective. I think we do an amazing job with shirts and medals. We really try to have a lot of fun. I know that everybody like something different. I happen to love, like, the shirt that you have on, where it's a little bit more simple on the front with the logo and the design on the back. This year we have more of a design on the front, and you're never going to make it where it's perfect for everyone, wherever, it's everyone's favorite, but we try very hard to make it fun and exciting each year. And we put as much effort into our 5K medals as we do to our marathon medals.
Oh,
And it's important to us that people have something to take away that's going to be special for them. I also think that we really try hard to make, how to say this the right way, offer the amenities of a larger race while still being able to have the logistics that a smaller race can provide.
mm.
So, for example, participants don't have to worry about getting on a shuttle and getting to the starting line. That, we have a shared start and finish. So once you've found parking and where you're going, it's logistically easy. The race starts at 8 a.m., not 6 a.m. So again, like, there's some logistical things that I think, particularly if you're running your first marathon, I
Yeah.
think just take some of the challenges off the table and allow you to focus on the race and not all of the other things that you might have to worry about. Not that you still don't have to worry, you still have to find parking, you still have to know where you're going to stay, that
And
kind of
run it.
stuff. But we try, and I think our physical location lends itself to being just easier to get around. If you have spectators that want to watch you at multiple areas of the course, it's fairly easy to get around. So I would say those are the biggest things. I think it's a really beautiful course. I think that we offer really wonderful amenities, and the logistics make it a lot of fun and take a little bit of the worrying out.
I love that response, and I especially love the fact that Atlantic City is like generally a very, very flat course. So
Yes.
for
Yeah.
people who are starting marathoning,
Yep.
I would recommend a flat course initially because, 26.2 miles is challenging unto itself,
Yeah.
much less having to deal with elevation. I know there's a couple of bridges that you go over
At the beginning. Yep.
towards the beginning of the race,
Yep.
right? But that's about it. And it's
Yes.
better to have those at the beginning than at the very, very end.
Yes.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Ginny, do you have any like one particular race day experience that you found particularly rewarding or something that has happened as a race director while it's been race day that has ever stood out and kind of lasted with you?
Um, some of the things I've maybe been aware of prior to race day. Um, I would say we've had many runners check off their 50th state with us, and their family is there. So there's been several of those really exciting experiences where you're able to share that with someone. Their family is there, and it's this like tremendous accomplishment. Um, I've been at the finish line where I saw a father carrying his like 14-year-old son on his back crossing the finish line.
Oh,
I'm gonna like tear up. Having a child like run to their mother and jump in her arms when they're crossing the finish line, like, you did it, mom. There's a lot. I've kind of said since we started this that it feels like you're planning a wedding and a parade at the same time. There's so much emotion. There's so many of those emotional stories that there's there's a lot. We have a chapter of Ainsley's Angels that participates.
Oh,
We've grown very close to the Philadelphia chapter. I think he's Philadelphia. Maybe he's considered South Jersey. Dave Goldstein, who pushed his son for many years and then started really building that and recruiting other participants who would push someone in a wheelchair. So being able to be a part of those things and be like that level of meaning in people's lives is really kind of something that I didn't know. Again, before I was in the community. I mean, I can remember like myself the first time running and passing people that were with Achilles, the organization where they're supporting someone who is vision impaired. And
yeah.
just thinking like, I had no idea. Like, what have I been doing? Making every excuse in the world for what I'm capable of. And it's pretty special.
it is very humbling when you see, just runners from all different walks of life. I know Lorri and I have had experiences where we saw a gentleman. I think he had over 1,000 marathons that he had run. He was what, Lorri, maybe late 70s, early 80s,
Yeah.
and he was still trucking. And we were like, oh my gosh, and to think about, at the time we were like in our 40s, I'm like, I can't complain. Like, I can't complain right now, you know?
I know
Yeah.
it's definitely got to feel better to me than it did to him. And it didn't feel
Absolutely.
all that great to me.
Yeah, yeah. So Jeannie, going back to the shirts and the medals, I mean, Lorri and I, we like some good swag. We
I'm a
we
Okay.
do.
bling whore.
We like our good race swag. So what's the process that you go through to, get mock-ups? Is there multiple things that you choose from? Is there a
Yeah.
committee? Like how do you guys operate with that?
We're very lucky that like I said, we are the JCC, and so we have a full-time staff. We have an art department essentially that is also responsible for all of the stuff that we're doing for JCC, and we have a summer camp and a preschool, and so we're kind of jumping back and forth sometimes with, we could be doing a comedy show and a preschool ad and then back to medals. I do believe, and I think I can speak for our art director, that the marathon stuff is one of the more fun spaces where we can really be a little bit more creative. We do 3 events per year within the race series: the Atlantic City Marathon weekend, the April Fool's Half Marathon, and the Bungalow Beach Run. They all really have their own identity. We've played around with some of the branding for some of them over the years, but we really just kind of sit down and start brainstorming. I will be honest, this year we said out loud that we really wanted like under the sea mermaid, and it kind of evolved from there.
You get me
Some years
excited.
we've gone a little bit more nautical, some years we've gone away from that. We have some landmarks, but we don't have like a skyline, like a
Mhm.
like a recognizable, like it's not New York City, that kind of thing. So or some places have very significant like physical infrastructure that they can feature, and then they kind of stick with that. So we try to switch it up a little bit. We do have like the Upseekin Lighthouse that's very well known here. We've used a few times. So we just kind of go back and forth, and he sketches things first. And we look at some sketches, and he tries some different things. And I think we work really well together because, and I'll give Tom a shout out, but I think we work really well together because
Absolutely.
we both receive constructive criticism. Like we want that. We're almost like, yeah,
Give it to me.
tell me you hate it. Tell me, tell me like just totally start over. And I'm like, no, I like it. And we kind of just go back and forth. And then we do have a committee of some staff members and volunteers, and everybody has a different, vision and different style. And we don't share it with the committee until we have some kind of idea of what we're doing. And then we'll kind of push it out from there. And a lot of times come back and, we forgot to put the year on it. That, like, or like color schemes, things like that, they'll give some feedback on. But
Oh, I
yeah,
love
so
that.
that's really the process. And we're very lucky because a lot of events, I think, rely on like marketing firms and outside companies that they don't have like that buy-in. Um,
Yeah.
and we have an art director, and then we have an additional graphic designer. So I think sometimes you'll see their personalities come through. Like we had a younger woman who was a graphic designer for several years who really took ownership of the bungalow stuff, and it really looked and felt like her,
Oh, that's cool.
compared to maybe some of the other event stuff that our art director has done.
Oh, I tell you what, we appreciate like, and I think I'm going to say our medals for our races, as you've probably experienced, right? They go the whole gambit.
Yeah.
We've had, and I loved the one from the year that we did Atlantic City. I think it was wasn't it a
Shell, I think.
yeah, yeah. I know it was round. It just like a nice size medal.
Yeah.
But like we did the Little Rock, Arkansas Marathon, and that thing is probably about like almost like 2 feet
It's
wide.
it's
Yeah.
bigger than my head. And
It's bigger than Lori's head. But then you turn and you talk about like simplicity, right? So we ran a marathon down in Mobile, Alabama, that was totally supported by a local charity, like a nonprofit,
Right.
and there was like people who had special needs, and they made our medals. So
Oh,
they were
wow.
actually wood with like I don't know the name of the marathon,
Very cool.
like glue. It just and to us, like that was as special as getting
Yeah.
some of these other ones. But I love your process and just the collaboration, because it sounds like when you get a lot of perspectives and ideas, you get the best product you
Yes.
possibly can put out that you all feel proud of. And I remember getting the shirt in 2023, and both Lori and I were like, oh, this is sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Good.
It's a nice fitting shirt. Not all
Yes.
shirts fit very well, but that
Yes.
shirt, I could not find it because it's away with my winter stuff, but I was looking
Okay.
for it because I know I have it. But I really like that shirt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
we have a
Jeannie,
great relationship with our vendors too. It's funny because something that was brought up at an event we did recently where we asked for feedback, someone brought up this idea of offering like different shirt options in the registration process, some that might even be fee-based, like because this person was saying like, she only wears tank tops, let's say, or somebody else maybe really prefers long sleeves. And would it make sense to kind of take that piece out of like being included in registration, maybe even changing the cost to make up for it, and then letting people choose which type of shirt that they wanted, which I thought was interesting. I haven't seen an event doing that yet.
no, I haven't seen that either.
No, I haven't either. And that's interesting too. Because I definitely, like, I feel like my t-shirts usually go to waste because I just
Yeah.
don't wear the t-shirts. I'm either in a tank top or a
Or a
long
long
sleeve.
sleeve.
So I
Yeah.
always wear a long sleeve, which feels right for me, like in
Right.
the fall and winter races.
Yes.
But I always am
Yeah.
like, oh, it's a t-shirt.
And
Yeah.
and the difference between Lori and I is like Lori will keep all of her shirts even if she doesn't wear them. And I'm like,
Okay.
ding dong ditch, man. I will not keep a shirt if I don't like it. And it's
Gotcha.
I should probably like not even take them. But I feel like that's like a little insult. But
Yeah.
I like a good shirt that represents a race, and I wear these things all the time, like just all the time. So
Yeah.
I am really looking forward to seeing what the shirts look like in 2 weeks, and
And the
as well as the
medals.
medals. As well as
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
medals. Yeah, 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 yeah. Are,
Wait, when do you preview do you put
We
out ahead
did.
of time? Oh, you
We
did already?
did.
I missed it.
We did. You
How
can still
did I
see
miss
them. They
that?
are on our social media sites if you and our website.
okay, we
Okay.
gotta take a look.
I'm so sorry. I
No, that's
completely
okay.
missed it. I don't even know
Yeah.
how that happened.
I totally missed it as well. So we both
Shame on us. Shame on us.
well, I mean, I like so Lori just came back from like a month and a half in France. So
Oh,
you kind of
very
have a
nice.
little bit of an
Yeah.
excuse, my friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
We sent
nice.
my youngest, I have three kids, and my youngest left to go to Penn State. I'm a stay-at-home mom, and my
Okay.
husband has the ability to occasionally work virtually. And
Okay.
so I told him that if we did not get me the hell out of town for a little bit after dropping her off, he was going to have to be picking me up off the bathroom floor daily.
Okay.
So yeah, we went to France and we ran the Marathon du
Very
Manoir.
nice.
So
Yeah,
Well
yeah,
worth it.
yeah,
do you
absolutely.
think do you think you'd ever slide in and do a full marathon? Has that ever been a goal?
It is something that I think about, especially in the instances like this when you're surrounded by people that, that are and have accomplished that. Um, I have some joint issues and they kind of start to break down even towards the end of the half marathon distance. I'm not doing anything about it right now, but I have like a tear in my hip that I was kind of told by a couple different doctors not to address. I mean, not to address, but not to have surgery. So I don't know if it's something that'll be in my future. I also have three children. My youngest is 10. So I think that that's part of it as well, that like really the
Yeah,
proper training would require a lot of time, obviously.
Yeah.
Um,
yeah.
and so it's possible. I think that if I were to, I have done a 15-mile race, and I think that I don't know if I like mentally would need to work my way up. Um, but it's possible.
Anything is possible, but I think to your earlier point, I mean, it just sounds like you just move, right? And if you just
Yes.
keep moving and you don't stop moving, I mean,
Yeah.
we're kind of testament of that. I mean, I'm in my mid 50s and I'm still doing this stuff.
Yes.
And we're gonna keep doing it until I get to a point where I can't do it. Although
Yes.
although during my last marathon, I was like, Lori, this is the last one. Like
Yeah.
I was
I
like,
think a
it was
lot. I've heard that before.
It
Yeah.
was an awful race. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like
And then she came home. Her daughter signed up for another race, and then I was like, are we going to do another one?
and then I
Yeah.
was like, and then I kept signing up for more races, and she's like, oh, okay, all right, yeah, you
And
were
I
full of
found,
crap during
That's
that discussion.
probably the key for me because once you sign up, you kind of have to do it. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I should
yeah.
probably just look out into the future and pick a date.
But I tell you what, Jeannie, because both Lori and I were running before we started running together. So we met in 2014. And so we ran a bunch of races by ourselves. It makes such a difference when you find a running partner or a running club, and just the sense of, you got somebody to lean on. I mean, I leaned on
Yeah.
Lori pretty heavily during our last marathon in France. Mile 8, I hit the wall. I mean, mile 8, and that
Yeah.
was our 63rd marathon. So
Wow.
I mean, it happens. It happens any given Sunday. And just finding a community, and that's what we always encourage. Like, whenever we talk to people who are just starting out running, trying to figure out how do I get into the sport,
Yeah.
find somebody else to go and run with, or
Yeah.
find a running club. You can search on Facebook. I mean, there's tons of
Yeah.
small groups, in every area. And I don't know, it just I think, Laura, you said it the other day. It's like, it just always helps when you have accountability in the morning, just knowing that somebody's waiting for you at 5:30 in the morning in the parking
Yeah.
lot,
Yeah.
and you're like, I gotta get up. I gotta get up because she's in the
Yeah.
parking lot
Someone's like
and she's
relying
waiting
on
for me.
you.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So talking about, just early mornings. What does your morning, so like in 2 weeks, like when the marathon it's marathon day. What does Jeannie's morning look like? Like, what time are you getting up in the morning?
Yes. About 3:30, which really isn't bad. Um, I don't know how races do it if they start at 6 a.m. I guess there is the morning was the night before. But most of our setup and everything being in place is happening on Thursday and Friday. Things like portable restrooms and loaded into trucks and all of that fun stuff. And then Saturday morning, we do the 5K and 10K. So a lot of that infrastructure is already set up on the boardwalk. So Sunday morning, marathon day, race day is about 3:30. We're up and on the road. I go to actually to my JCC first and stop in there because we do stage most of the things for the course out of there. Picking up a radio so that everything's fully charged. We keep that kind of stuff there overnight so that we don't have any glitches. And then I'm heading directly to the start finish area. Our committee chair, who is not a staff member, he's one of our board members at the JCC and our chairman for the event. He is really very hands-on with our Atlantic City portion. So he meets with the company that's putting out the cones on the Atlantic City section. Our CEO, Marg, and one of our former committee members meet with the company that's putting out the cones in the what we call Down Beach, which is like Margate and Longport. So
Okay.
we're kind of like dividing and conquering there. And I go typically right to the starting area and work with the timing company and, kind of getting all of that set up going. And one of our other committee members really likes to be on the microphone. I don't. So he starts doing all that fun stuff.
I love it.
And provided there's no real need for me to go anywhere else, I don't physically leave the starting line until the race goes off.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I'm doing everything from putting zip ties on banners to receiving the bagels that get delivered,
I love it.
whatever kind
Whatever
of
hat you need to wear, right?
logistical
Yeah.
things are happening around you. We are a fairly small team. And luckily technology has allowed, if you were to ask me that question 10 years ago, there was a lot of computer work that was happening on race morning with databases and bibs that were assigned and all of that. And that really doesn't exist anymore. All the technology is integrated. The timing company is getting the data right out of run sign up. If someone lost their bib and shows up, it takes us about a minute and a half to assign them a new one.
I love
So
it.
Wow.
a lot of those things that used to be a lot more challenging and more time consuming, like everything else in the world. Just technology has gotten a lot more advanced since we started doing this, and it's gotten a lot better. Um, we have a staff member that's like our medical team lead. We implemented a company called MedCycle several years ago, where there are paramedics on bikes along the course.
Oh, we love
So we
those.
kind
Yeah.
of work with
Yeah.
everybody to get settled, make sure everybody's radios are working, that everybody knows where they're supposed to be. And we really love the fact that we are able to start on time. Very rarely have we had to even delay, minutes. So that's the goal, is to make sure everyone's in place. Eric, our committee chair, actually, once the cones are all out and the roads are closed, he goes with a sergeant, an officer in Atlantic City who's really taken ownership of the event. And they go out and they ride through the entire Atlantic City portion of the course about 5 minutes ahead of you guys,
Oh,
and make
wow.
sure everything is where it's supposed to be.
Wow.
Nice.
I
Yep.
love that. So you're like, I mean, just hard charging all day. Is it almost like a relief when the race kicks off and you like kind of take a deep breath and you're like, okay, like when do
It
you
is a
take a
little
deep
bit,
breath that
and
day?
it is a little bit of a deep breath. You know that nobody is going to be back to because we have a shared start and finish. No one's going to be back for about an hour. Um, your lead half marathoners may be within, a few minutes after an hour. So you have that little bit of space to take a breath, and also to handle anything that does need to be fixed. If a certain water station doesn't have enough of the products or things like that, we can kind of maneuver things from there. And then that
Yeah.
also gives us a little bit of breath to turn things over from it being the starting line to the finish line.
Yeah. I mean, we saw that, Lori, really in action a couple weeks ago at Marathon du Médoc. There were a couple of miles where they actually ran out of water.
Yeah.
It was so hot, and they actually
Yeah.
served water in actual like plastic water bottles. And so we think probably what happened was, the runners who were much further ahead than us probably took a couple more bottles of water
Right.
than what they normally would, just because, again, they were super
So
hot.
hot.
But we did see the race staff pivot very, very quickly. As we were coming up on, the deeper miles into the race, you saw vans and trucks like jumping off
Yeah.
like cases of water
Yeah.
and so forth. So they pivoted. I mean, it was unfortunate there was a stretch there, of no water. But they did go and react very quickly. So, and like you were saying, you keep an eye on the weather. But I mean, when we were in France, it was in the 70s, and all of a sudden there was a spike day. It was
Right.
an odd day of 93 degrees, and then it came back down into the
Yeah.
70s the next day. Like you just can't predict that. So we appreciate, just you being on and your staff being on like all day, and just, you just gotta
Roll with it.
assess the
Yeah.
situation and then respond, right? And
Yeah.
keeping people safe is
Yes.
probably your top priority.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, we really appreciate all that you do putting on the Atlantic City Marathon. We're super psyched to get there to the race start on October the 19th. Hopefully
Absolutely,
it's going to
absolutely.
we're due a good weather day. So hoping
Yes,
for
it's going to be an
that. It's
amazing day.
going
Yep.
to be
And
an amazing
Jeannie,
day.
hopefully we'll when we get to the start, we'll track you down if you don't look too
Yes,
busy, and we'll actually do a face-to-face intro. So we greatly,
that will be
greatly appreciate
wonderful.
having you on today. And we're looking forward to the race in a couple weeks, and best of luck with everything.
Thank you very much. And thank you for having me. I look forward to meeting you both next week.
Cool,
Yes,
cool. All
sounds
right. Have
great.
a good one. Have a good night. So next week we are actually going to interview our husbands.
Yes.
And because, they have been with us through this journey, both when we were individual runners and then as a mile 20 couple. And they have been so incredibly supportive. Sometimes, I'm not going to say they're not supportive, but kind of like rubbing again.
Reluctantly supportive.
Right. So
Yeah.
we definitely want to get their perspectives on what it's like to be married to us. and what it's like to be exposed to the running community, especially with Dave, having run a couple of marathons as well. Jim, no, but our husbands have been absolutely just rock stars in supporting us, whether they're on the course or at home, and just kind of cheering us on, as we're doing our training. So, so you guys will get to meet our husbands next week. So we again greatly appreciate you all for joining us, and we will catch you next week. Now go make mile 20 your bitch.
Peace out.